Pervert.
eXistenZ is a 1999 science fiction horror film written and directed by David Cronenberg, starring Jude Law, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Ian Holm, and I was going to say Sarah Polley. Sarah Polley didn't do a lot in this movie.
Are you money home?
Richard Brake is in this too.
Yeah, but maybe William Dafoe or Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah, Willem Dafoe's in there.
Yeah, as Gas.
That guy from Battlestar Galactica is in there.
Not that I quite like Sarah Polley. She was in Go. Like she's good in that. Like when she gets the time to shine, it's a Sarah Polley movie.
She's in this for like 3 minutes.
She's in this for 3 minutes.
It's a good 3 minutes.
You know what? I felt nostalgic today, so I put on the shirt. Yeah, I put on the let the right one in shirt to
watch the show.
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
You know, I put on the shirt because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a show with Chris Ruppert, Bad Movie Night. You might have heard of him. Yeah, let the right one in, and then we also did our program was a double header. That one was let me in or let
me in.
What is the show now?
Let me the fuck in, I think is what it's called.
What do we do? Did you watch the show?
Not yet. I saw a trailer for it and it had me intrigued. Is it not good?
I don't know. I don't.
Okay.
I wanted to ask someone like you because like hopefully you had the wherewithal to be adventurous and be like, okay, I'm gonna watch this because we loved. I think you and I both loved let the right one in. Right.
Let the right one in is good. Let me in is still good. Just distilled down version of let the right one in.
Right. It was like, what's the point? And now we're going to stretch that to a series.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's kind of like a multiverse type deal. I think that's like a thing nowadays in the cinema. And it got me thinking of eXistenZ.
I think it's infected.
No, it's not infected. It's just excited. Wants action.
Way to bring it back.
Fucking segue, buddy.
Damn.
Welcome back to
pretty
the
good.
Cult of Films. I'm John, the motherfucking host. That's Chris Ruppert. Welcome.
Yep. Thank you for having me back once again on Cult of Films.
I missed you.
Death to... Oh, yeah, okay. I appreciate that. I missed you too. It's been a while. You were on Bad Movie Night. I guess it's been a while since you were on there too.
We haven't done much. Yeah, back outside. We're not just stuck inside watching a ton of movies. But this was a movie that I think it was like 63 years ago. Jason Alt and I, who also do the show together quite a bit, we did a Cronenberg episode where basically the whole time I just wanted to talk about this movie. And it's just like which says a lot, right? Because Cronenberg's like filmography
catalog,
is so extensive. Yeah. It's chewy, it's thick, it's nice. Like there's a lot of nougat.
It's like a brisket in some ways, maybe. A nougat. Yeah, a nougat would be good in there too.
It is. It's very. There's a lot to suck down in a Cronenberg film.
There's a lot of Cronenberg to suck on. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of orifices to jump in. Unlike Pikel, who he just has a really huge fear of being penetrated, his body being penetrated.
Wants action.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll unpack that. Because that says a lot about Jude Law.
Cronenberg, well, real quick, we'll just, he's got a style. He's got a vibe.
Oh,
right.
Cronenberg's got a vibe, for sure.
Got a vibe. Everything is sweaty and sexual. And so I listened to the commentary of this, which I don't normally do, but it's like, this is special. It's a Cronenberg film. And he's just like, yeah, a lot of people say that my other films are just a lot more, sweaty and sex intensive. He's just like, just because it's not like full on, like full frontal, like traditional nudity, they're fucking in every scene in this movie. basically something is
some holes
fucking
getting fingered, sucked on. Yep.
Yes, yeah. Some body part is moving of a mutated lizard or
Yeah.
yeah. It's fucked up.
It's hot, yeah. That is what you're saying, though. Like, Cronenberg has a style. He's one of those directors. That's why he's a known director, where it's like you put a movie in, you're like, oh, this is Cronenberg. This is Quentin Tarantino. Like, they're just so unique. This is like, I do agree. I think this is like top tier Cronenberg, where it's like got the best of both worlds, where it's still like penetrable
Wants action.
for like a normal person to like watch and kind of understand what's going on, but then also super weird in his way, and it's kind of arty, and yeah,
it's accessible with also being one of the most fucked up.
yeah, that's that. Yeah, yes, that's the best way of saying it.
This is my favorite type of Cronenberg. I think this is when he shines, where it's just like he's pulling out all the stops, he's doing all the stuff, like his signature moves, right? But there's that layer of humor to it because he has such a sick sense of humor.
I find this disgusting, but I can't help myself.
This movie has some pretty funny stuff happen into it. It's all very dark and ridiculous humor, but this might be one of his funnier movies.
It's so absurd, and I don't even think it's just like absurd in the sense of the weird shit that we're seeing. I feel like Jude Law especially, but both of our leads are just playing it so fucking weird. Because we know that these people know how to act, because we've seen them do it before. But Jude Law is like, he's just like making all these weird faces.
He's goofy in a way that I really like.
Right.
I feel like Jennifer Jason Leigh was playing Jennifer Jason Leigh.
She was essentially like an Elon Musk in this movie. Like, she thought she was the smartest person in the room.
Did she ruin Twitter too?
Right, exactly. She still has to pay her $8 for the check mark. But then there's a switch at the end, and you know, we'll get into like kind of what happens in this movie. But she plays the character a completely different way, and that works.
True.
And both of them.
Yeah, true. Yes. Yeah, no, you're right. Maybe it's just that I've seen Jennifer Jason Leigh kind of play this kind of character and other stuff. I'm thinking of like Possessor and just like Annihilation and stuff, where she feels, like on Xanax, kind of detached and serious and kind of hot because of it. Especially in this movie.
Man. I've never. It's kind of. Is it messed up to say I've never been super attracted to Jennifer Jason Leigh? Except
a little
in this
bit.
movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah, she's yeah. What are you gonna do? I think it's all the extra orifices, honestly.
Yeah, and this was on the fly, which I no pun intended on the fly, but I heard from the commentary where he was just like, why aren't these bio ports getting infected? And she literally just like opens her mouth, and he's just like, Cronenberg's like, that was completely off the cuff and like one of the best improvs that I've ever seen. Like, because it just explains everything without having to explain anything, and also being really hot. I feel like such a skis watching this film.
It's a weird one though. It's weird watching it now and realizing like this is kind of like just like what Inception kind of just took a lot of this. All like the layers within layers within layers. What's reality by the end kind of thing, and the ending is essentially the same in a lot of ways.
This was Dark City Matrix, right? Because Dark City kind of well, I think it ran so Matrix could walk. And I am on the record saying that I fucking hate Inception. I think it's Nolan's worst film. I'm just not enchanted by it at all. And this is so much better. Like, this is like, it has the blueprint. And it like plays so well because it's a video game movie without having to do Lawnmower Man effects.
Yeah, they don't even like attempt to make it feel like you entered the video game. It's just like, oh, they're in a new scene. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
dreamlike
in that way, but it is more effective because it starts to blur the line of reality and video game, and then you get so far into it and you don't know where you're at all, whether what's real and what's not. Neither do the characters. And if you had done like a weird entering like Inception level crap, where it's like so over the top, yeah, it wouldn't be nearly as effective, I don't think.
Yeah, and this was actually Cronenberg's first of two things. One of which is it was his first time ever using CGI in one of his movies. He's a very tactile. He's kind of
was it the bug?
It was the bug, the two-headed lizard
Yeah.
bug thing. But the first scene that we see CGI is just the squib that she gets shot with the gristle gun.
Yeah.
The squib had to be smaller because it was just too close to her face, so they had to kind of like puff up the blood and stuff like that. And he was so like upset about that because he's such a hipster, you know. He's just like, I don't. And his son's like just vomiting CGI on every fucking frame and like Possession, which is great. I love that fucking.
It's a different time too, but yeah,
It is. I think Possessor. Yeah. Ways that he shows that it's not part of our world is just something that the audience watching it for the first time takes for granted and won't even pick up. This movie really rewards you for multiple viewings, because the scene where they leave the initial area, the presentation that goes wrong with all the shootings going on, they jump in the car and that's all like old-timey rear projection.
Looks like Psycho. Yeah,
exactly. And so he's just like, yeah, this is a stylistic thing that, you know, you would, if you've seen a movie, you've seen this a million times, and it also
I did it in my movie. Yeah,
perfect, exactly.
Yep.
But he's just like, he specifically kind of popped his cherry on this, or his bioport,
Wants action.
by using this technology to just show that that little like, oh, is this real? Is it not? And so there's so many little knobs to turn in this really short runtime.
The one that I enjoy is where they're talking about what's his face? Not Ralph Fiennes, not Guy Pearce, not Ralph Pearce.
Same
Jude
thing.
Law. That he's if you combine those two, they're all the same. Yeah.
Leo DiCaprio.
When they're talking about Jude Law not having a bioport, and he's like, yeah, we'll just go down to the whatever country gas station and get one or whatever, and then the next scene, the gas station just says country gas station on it. And like, it's a funny joke, but it also is like a hint that is this reality.
Everything's generic. Yeah, because no one wants to pay the rights in, you know, for eXistenZ. It's all, everything's generic. The guy's name is Gas. The gas attendant's name is Gas. It's great. And again, all these little tiny things where it doesn't feel like you're watching a video game movie. You think of a video game movie, you think of like Mortal Kombat or, you know, Street Fighter or Super Mario or any of these other things. Probably no one but us like think of those three names.
Yeah.
But when you say a video game movie, but
Mortal Challenge, yeah.
Mortal Challenge is a fucking great film. But it's just like, it has those things in it, like the NPC thing where the guy just kind of shuts down until they have to ask him something so he could like literally progress. And
What's he doing?
He's gone into a game loop. He won't come out of it until you give him a proper line of game dialogue.
Well, that's the cool thing also, because it's like there's actual other players, like Willem Dafoe is another person who has, well, that's the question. Do they have agency within the video game? Because they oftentimes feel forced or compelled to do certain actions and feelings and stuff like that.
right.
What the hell was that?
That wasn't me. It was my game character. I wouldn't have done that, not here anyway.
And this is how I take it. It's just like, if you make a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It eventually gets shittier and shittier and shittier, and it gets, you know, less quality. I think that's kind of what's going on here, because I think that they're so far into the I'm playing a video game. Like, okay, this is my body. I'm in the game, and then my character is gonna go into another game, because it's like they're going into different ports. They have like a chapstick port, you know, they have all this stuff. The one that gets sucked right into their spine.
Yep.
And it's just like you keep going down the rabbit hole. It's just like by the time like their physical body might be dust at this point, and maybe it's just their energy now. So there's just so much, you know, as far as like what is an NPC anymore, what's awareness, what's reality, and it's all this cute little things that Cronenberg just like asks the question and then he lets the audience run with it and formulate their own answers.
And the difference here is like if you explain that concept, you could be like, oh, I could see that being a really effective Black Mirror episode. Sure. But there'd be no way, and it probably would be a good Black Mirror episode. I don't know why I'm like slurring that mirror episode. But yeah, the Cronenberg flair and weird choices with things is what sets this apart. Insofar as like all the uncomfortable, weird body horror stuff. The gross like organic gun that shoots teeth and this scene where Jude Law's just like compelled to eat stuff to build the gun. It's just to like make you really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The bug creatures that like the tuna fishery or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. The trout.
It's just
entire place used to be a trout farm. From outside, you would never guess it's now a factory for making game pots.
Just the trout, it's just like nasty, like just gross stuff that wouldn't be in a different version of this movie if anyone else had made it.
Right. Yeah, all these little things add up to this. And it's just like so packed, right? Like there's so much in here. Like you just named enough content for probably like 3 different movies or like a whole series on Netflix of something, right? But it's just like he managed to do this in like 90 minutes like sharp, and you're in and out, and it, in my opinion, it feels a little too brief, because I would like to, like, this is like an MMO, right? Like before MMOs were really a thing, I would like to go in and explore this world a little bit more.
Hey guys, let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
But I wouldn't want like anyone else to do it. I don't want to see a fucking crackpot put this on Paramount Plus or fucking Peacock. You know, I want
Gerard Butler as a video game character.
Full stop. I want Gerard Butler. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Gamer 2 or whatever that fucking movie was. Gamer, was that what it was?
Yeah. Exactly. Because I don't want anyone to fuck it up. I don't want anyone that doesn't know what they're doing.
I do hear you though, where it's like this movie is super dense with stuff, but when you're watching it, you feel like, okay, I get the setup. Jennifer Jason Leigh narrowly escapes these people trying to assassinate her and is on the lam with Guy Jude Pierce Law. And then they end up like at a hotel room and some talking and some more talking, and you're playing with your little porthole nonsense. But it's like, okay, where are we going? Like, there's no conspiracy building. It doesn't feel like there's much of a plot. And then all of a sudden we get dropped into the video game, and it's all focused on like continuing this video game, but not actually like continuing the storyline of what we initially thought was going on. So that whole premise is kind of like a ruse in a lot of ways, where it's like, that's just kind of like the video game theme, or is that actually reality? I don't know, but by the end it's like, it doesn't matter. That's not really what we're talking about. We're just talking about blurring these lines of reality.
And that's it. The purpose is to just keep jumping down, to sustain, to progress, to see where this goes, because no one, like, Inception has a reason that they're trying to do this. It's like a heist movie. There's a clear message. We're gonna get in, get out, get the thing, and But
I think a lot of audience demand something like that. They need that structured. Okay, we solved the thing. This is the ending. Okay, this movie probably would turn a lot of people off because of the nature of like, okay, we lost the plot somewhere along the lines.
And did, because I mean, this was a absolute flop. I mean, it's a $15 million budget. It didn't even make $3 million. So no one saw this. No one cared. This was probably one of his more or least successful films financially, but it's one of his that he's probably the most proud of. Like, he likes the little weirdo ones like this and Naked Lunch, and where it's just like I said before, it's just the question that he poses and then he just lets it run, and that does not play well to an audience. Even in like the cool like indie world or elevated horror, or however you want to go, like audiences still want a clear cut thing nowadays, I feel.
I feel like you can get away with like an ambiguous ending, but this movie, again, like it has like the first third of a movie where it's building towards like what seems like an intricate storyline, and then it just kind of loses it into something else. And I think that's where audiences would get upset, because if we had like continued this whole storyline through and then maybe like unraveled more details about conspiracy of these companies and blah blah blah, something more concrete, and then had a bit of an ambiguous ending, it might be more effective for someone like that. I don't know, but I hear you. But you don't. Is this still like doesn't have a cult following?
And that's the thing. I don't feel like there is. I really don't, because not a lot of people talk like in the cult sphere. Everyone knows who Cronenberg is, but they're just like, yeah, I like cult movies. Have you seen The Fly?
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. But have you seen eXistenZ? Probably not. Like, even, you know, a lot of people talk about Crash or shocking films. This one is just, it has like that perfect balance of like comedy to his normal weirdness, where I don't think it was Cronenbergy enough to the people that thought that Cronenberg was a certain thing. They just wanted dark Videodrome, you know, weirdo sex pervert movie with like no levity. And it's like, well, that's because James Woods was in fucking you know, Videodrome.
Everybody nobody
he's
wanted
gonna take
to be
the
there.
sex out of anything, even with fucking Deborah Harry.
He dried me up.
Oh my god,
like it was a Sunday afternoon.
There's no WD-40 put in my porthole that would have opened
No,
that shit up.
my bio hole so crusty.
What's that for?
Crusted over.
Fucking crusted over. So, I mean, do you think that this succeeds as a Cronenberg film? As far as, like, think about, like, I don't want to say think about general audiences, but just think about...
Well, it's not as mainstream as The Fly, but it does have elements of it in a lot of ways. But it's not as out there as, like, Crimes of the Future. But it does have elements of it. Right. And that's why at the beginning I was like, this is kind of the best of the both worlds of Cronenberg for me. Like, I still really like old Cronenberg, like
more nihilistic,
the Brood and The Fly, and not Slither. What the hell's it called?
Shivers.
I really like that one as well. Yeah. Where I don't know, like those are pretty easy to follow. They're weird and gross at times, but they're still very digestible. And then you get into more of the surreal stuff with Cronenberg, which I do still enjoy. But it gets out there in a way where it's not as easy to understand or digest, I guess.
He has this thing that I think he kind of shares a little bit with like a Stephen King with, where like when Stephen King kind of veers off and does more fantasy elements or even sci-fi elements, I think he succeeds more. But I feel like people just want him to do the horror thing so hard, and they're both great at it, right? Like they're who they are, they're known how they are because of those elements. And even I think like a more like current filmmaker nowadays, like Mike Flanagan. Like I would love to see like a Mike Flanagan just like weird high fantasy or like sci-fi film, because like I feel like once you start doing the same things over and over again, and then you veer off as a Cronenberg and you make a Naked Lunch or you make eXistenZ, they're like, oh, what the fuck is this?
True, but also think of how Cronenberg veered off and did like A History of Violence and did what's the other one? Eastern Promises, which are like just really good dramatic movies without any of that weird Cronenberg stuff. But they also aren't easily identifiable as a Cronenberg movie.
Right.
They're more like you could show an audience, a normal person, this and be like, oh yeah, this is a good movie. I don't know who made it. Who's David Cronenberg? And then show him like them eXistenZ, and they'd be like, what the fuck? What happened?
Yeah, it's almost like a Buckaroo Banzai moment. You're like, what the? This is different from everything else I've seen, and it's a special little movie, man. And that's why I'm like so like dumbfounded why this doesn't have like a loud following. Like fucking Firefly has a huge cult following. Why doesn't eXistenZ?
Bioport fingering.
What's action?
But you would think people would be into that. Yeah, people would be into that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's not like it's dull or boring in
No.
like an artsy fartsy kind of way. Like the movie
doesn't
gets
let you-
going right away, and then it
does
just
not
nonstop.
let you be bored at all. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, we're literally in a sex scene, and now we're in a trout farm. It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not like a boring trout farm. It's like this weird mutant, like everything is just like weird and off kilter in a way, and gross.
We cut
And
it
what
open.
I-
There's spores. What?
What I like is like the witty or quick banter between them, where they're just saying these things that make no fucking sense, and they all say it with like conviction and like seriousness, and they're all obsessed with their eXistenZ by Satellite, or what is the company name? Like every time it's the name of the company. Branding. Yeah, it's hilarious. But it's done in a dry, serious way.
And that's another level to his performance, I think. And which I again, I'm kind of like, we joke that Jude Law is just kind of lost in the sea of just like generic good looking people, right? Which is funny because like everything in this is like generic, and he's just like generic good looking guy. But like he's done some great work. Like I love his performance in like Gattaca or something.
Oh yeah.
You know? It's just like
Enemy at the Gates.
Right. Like he could do this, and his performance in this is so nuanced because it's so goofy, it's so over the top, but it's like he has to play a person that seems naive but knows enough to know who he's working for, but also a double agent.
Death to the demoness Allegra Geller.
That's not funny.
Sorry.
It's just like, what?
The double agent thing definitely at the end is like just a twist upon a twist upon a twist. It's not like shocking or anything.
No.
But I don't really think it's meant to be. But he also serves as like a little bit of a gateway for the audience to get into the world by being naive to these things and having to ask the questions about the bioports and shit, just like leading into those conversations. So it doesn't feel unnatural when people are talking about that stuff.
Sure. And she is so off-putting in that way because she is like looking down on him and in the vehicle of being the audience as well. Like she's annoyed that we don't know what's
All
going
about
on.
that. Yeah.
She's annoyed that the audience members don't have fucking bioports. You know, it's just like the cadence of the movie, the way it unveils itself is very fun because I wouldn't say so much that this is a mystery. I guess it kind of is because you're constantly finding out something every 5 minutes.
Yes. However, like a lot of what you find out in the second half of the movie is just like how to continue the video game storyline, which is sort of mirroring some of the storyline that the movie opens with.
Right.
But it just gets more and more diffused down into different things. So you're like, oh, now I'm in this. What's going on? Why are we solving this mystery? What's happening? Like I forgot why we were doing this. And
Like,
Jude Law's like, and Jude Law Guy Ritchie. What the hell's this fucker's name? Guy Jude. I was right with Jude Law, wasn't I? Guy Pearce.
Hawk Pierce. Yeah.
At one point, he's like, I'm worried about my body or whatever he says, and I'm like, me too, dude.
Right. It's the most truest statement in the entire film. I love it. Yeah.
I'm very worried about my body.
And he's just like, and when they're sitting there, and I think it's right before he gets the special, right, the birthday special, and he's just like, wait a minute, can we fucking just pause this for a second? And he's talking for us because we're just like, wait, like they were just like, he just got a thing placed in his spine with like a fucking hydraulic gun. We're not going to talk about this.
Like a cow, like
Now they're fucking. Now there's trout, but that's not any trout that I've ever seen. Now we're in a Chinese restaurant.
eXistenZ is paused!
slams his head onto the table. It's so good.
It's, oh my God. And then of course it's just like, of course that's not the real reality because In my opinion, I don't know. There is no reality anymore. This is just it. The machines have taken over. No one is what they seem. No one is anybody, and that's so fun because, like, I don't know, 3/4 of the way through, it's just like, okay, you know what the plot is. She cares about this thing because it has the original version of the game in it, but
yes,
that's important because it's worth millions. And then it's just like, fuck all, it doesn't matter. Like, none of that matters up until the credits roll. Nothing matters.
But I love the end.
Yeah.
Where the guy who was murdered at the Chinese restaurant is now shown as to be one of the players of the game.
Maybe.
And he's like gonna get shot by Jennifer Jason Leigh and Guy Ritchie Pierce Law. And he's like,
Clooney.
Is this still in the game? Right. And they just look at each other and you're like, I don't fucking know.
Because they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know.
That begs the question of, like, one, what is reality, obviously? But two, like, do we have agency over what happens? Because the moments where they're in the game and they feel compelled to do things, they blame it on the game, and it's like acceptable reason because of that. But then, like, if you don't know if you're in a game or not, what makes it acceptable? Like, where do your morals go then? Do you know what I mean?
Because it takes away accountability.
Yes, exactly.
You always have something to fall back on. It's like being drunk at a college party or something. You know, it's just like, nowadays people are like, dude, you're almost 40. Why are you in my college party? But, you know, besides that, it's just like, yeah, it takes away the inhibitions, but it takes away that thing where it's just like, I felt compelled to lick your porthole because that's what my character wants to do, you know? And it's just like, no, it's just their inhibitions are gone because there's no consequences.
Because they feel like there's no consequences.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, but wait, you never know when you're in the game or not. Right. So, yeah.
Why do you think that this didn't succeed? At least financially, or not even just financially. Like, why didn't it get a big following like his other films?
I don't know. I mean, it does feel, I don't want to say cheaper, but it kind of feels a little bit cheaper than other things he's made in its production quality. Maybe it's not that bad. I don't know what it is about it, but I remember this movie, like, renting it on DVD or something, like, when it came out, and I thought, oh, this is straight to DVD Cronenberg. Like, this was not in the theaters, but I guess it had to have been. But I just always associate it with, like, a lower quality movie of his. But rewatching it again now, I'm like, this is really fucking good. It's not, the production quality is not bad, and it's got some decent actors in it. I don't know. It's just maybe a little bit too weird for some people. Or maybe it came too early with its concept.
This would be a movie that would find its following a lot faster these days, because shit like Twin Peaks, the revival or the return, just came out, and like, technically it's a piece of shit, but it's just like, it's so good. Like, there's so much to it. We've come full circle, and it's just like, if the story is good enough and the delivery is good enough, like, people will come and watch it now. Like, you know, people will show up for, like, Raw nowadays. There's like this girl, a college girl, like, eating fingers and shit.
Raw's a good movie.
It's a great movie. Nowadays, I think this would find its tribe a lot faster, because then there was so much on, especially on a director like this that had that clout and had that gravitas of.
True. Yeah, this is unique enough to sit amongst the crowd. Mm-hmm. And you're right, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, yeah, as long as the story is interesting, compelling, and unique, I'm willing to forgo those production quality things, because I feel like a lot of bigger budget movies, instead of, and they often can't tell the more intricate, nuanced stories because they're trying to deal with a really large audience. So they want everybody to have a good experience. So what they do instead is focus on the visual effects to distract from more nuanced storytelling.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna have noticeable, like, subpar effects, the rest better be, like,
true,
jamming, right? Like,
true.
Where I think this is, and this is a clinic on how to hide a budget as well, because like I said, Lawnmower Man is the other example of how like something like this would go wrong and did go wrong. Like this gets to hide everything because everything's implied. It's just like, oh, I know what an NPC is and I know what it means to, like, in a role-playing game, you know, have them run out of things to say.
What year was this?
1999, like the most crowded year.
There was like a Japanese movie. I think it was called Avalon. Have you ever seen this? It might have came before or after, but I feel like this was, and it's been like since high school. But I thought that movie was about like entering a VR world, and had some similarities. But I don't really remember at this point. That whole kind of concept became really popular around that time period because you're talking about like Dark City, The Matrix, I think that Avalon movie.
Like Dark City, and I think this were like the last ones to be like, okay, we're gonna tell a cerebral story without having to rely just on effects. Where like The Matrix and even Inception, we're just trying to break new ground visually.
True.
And be memorable that way. We're going to, you know, make this spectacle.
I would argue that Dark City is way more interesting looking than either of those movies.
I concur.
With its gothic, like, art direction and stuff.
And it's dark,
creature,
right? They hide
design.
They hide the seams.
Yeah. And it's got Jennifer Connelly in it.
Oh, my God. This is the unofficial Jennifer Connelly podcast. She always just creeps back up.
I was trying to think of, like, the music.
Howard Shore.
Yeah, and it's fine. It didn't really strike me as anything like too unique or too weird or too out there. You know what I mean?
It seemed epic. It seemed like a traditional, like, Schwarzenegger, like, you know, action film kind of score. Or like even like a Die Hard type deal.
Exactly.
It was Howard Shore, which, you know, he was, but Howard Shore also scored all of Cronenberg's films.
Yeah. It's just, I think there could have been something there. Although, you know what? Maybe it's nostalgia, but like when The Matrix and stuff would have like, well, Rage Against the Machine, obviously, but they also had like some electronic-y, like Rob Zombie-ish sounding shit in there of a time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have worked in this either. Like, if Nine Inch Nails is playing, I guess Nine Inch Nails is kind of timeless though, but
yeah,
it seemed like it would fit. Like a Pretty Hate Machine, kind of like electronic-y, heavy sound.
Dude, I would actually love to hear this recut with like a synth wave.
Yeah, I think it could like make a tonal change that might actually be really cool. I don't know.
I feel like we're showing our generation.
Why don't we tell David Cronenberg how to make a movie?
I honestly don't think about them until I'm forced by people like you to think about them.
Go back for this one. It is a little hard to find. I mean, it's
not.
Hard.
It's on archive.org.
Oh,
they have a Blu-ray rip of it. I just looked. Because I was gonna rent it, and it was like the second link. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well then, it's hard to find traditionally, I guess, but. Because I was like going through all the things, and it's just like, yeah, Amazon I think has it for like $4 or something, but like everywhere else is just like, nope. I'm like, whoa, okay. So yeah, you got to go off the back channels to find eXistenZ.
Interesting. Did you ever see Dead Ringers?
Yeah, of course.
See, now that's a fucking weird movie.
Yeah.
In a way where like that's more out there than this in a lot of ways for me. You know what I mean? Even though it's more of a grounded story in some ways,
right?
But it's more disturbing or just off kilter. So this I still feel like there is a good audience for this, like,
right? Because there's a good audience for it now. Like there's no time but now to go back for this movie because it still holds up. It's like the equivalent to like Cube, I think, where Cube kind of like screwed up and made other Cubes and they were terrible. Like if Cube was just a self-contained movie by itself, I think it would be kind of like eXistenZ, where no one cared about Cube, but people are now starting to go back and watch that movie. which is another movie that's very similar vein, where it's just like it's just asking you the questions and it's up to the audience to answer them. So I guess, like, you know, the segment of the show, who's this for? I think for people that like Cube. I don't know. What do you think? Who would you recommend this for now?
I think if you like are a modern person who isn't into Cronenberg, but you saw like Possessor and you're like, oh wow, I really like a lot of this going on here. It's uncomfortable. It's adult. It's dealing in like weird kind of experimental ideas and sci-fi elements. This has a lot of that. Possessor's way more nihilistic and unfun. Not fun. I don't know what you want to say there. Than eXistenZ is more of like a B movie version of something like that, where it's just sillier and cheaper, but still almost equally as good.
Yeah, remember when everyone was like remaking old horror movies to be like even darker and grittier? And I mean, like, remember, like, they're still doing that now. Like, Possessor almost feels like a remake of eXistenZ.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. No, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that until you said that. And Possessor is great, and it is joyless, but for people like us, like, it's just such a well-made film.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, have a double header. Go watch the original, and then go watch the remake. Tell us in the comments below, all you 5 people that watch the show. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk about something else that you might have seen at a different time,
Or not.
Or not. Yeah. Chris, this was a fucking joy. I missed your face.
Thanks, John. I missed yours too.
If I had to pick someone to get my porthole,
I would jack in with you.
oh my god, this is getting creamy.
Or jack in and then jack off when we're done.
Why do they twist it? They twist it sometimes. It's so knobby.
It's so
It is. Oh god, that's what it is. That's why no one liked this, because it's just like it's admitting you're going to the porn section.
You imagine watching this with your parents?
I did. That's how my brother was born. I'm just kidding. I don't have a brother. Where can everyone find you, sir?
They can find me over at Bad Movie Night, bad-movie-night.com, or the YouTube channel Bad Movie Night. You get the podcast, you get the videos, all that kind of crap. It's a good time.
It is not a good time. It is a great time.
Thanks, John.
So yeah, thanks for being here. I am John, the host. You could follow me. I don't know how much longer, because I can't afford the $8, everyone. So for now, as of the recording of this, I'm not saying like when this posts or anything. I might still be on a bird site at John the host. You
find
might
out.
be able to, you find out. You might be able to follow at the Cult of Films for a finite amount of time, probably. I don't know. Check it out, maybe. And check it out the podcast form if you don't want to look at our faces. Very understandable. You just want to listen to our creamy portholes. Bioports. Oh, man. This is just... I'm just
I like where it's going. Yeah, I like where this is going, actually.
We got to let you guys go because Chris and I need a moment. So thanks for watching. We'll
Thank you.